folks, thanks for listening today. I've got Matt Frey on the phone, and I'm really excited to talk to Matt. Matt's been kind enough to have been in our book. He was in our video series. He runs a great business. He owns Bub's Burgers and Ice Cream and Bub's Cafe out in sort of the Indianapolis, Indiana area. I think so we got 3 Bub's Burgers and Ice Cream locations. Bub's Cafe has 1 location, and then Matt also owns a bakery that he opened recently that supplies his bread and his buns. So, and Matt's just been very successful and worked very hard and has a great story. So, Matt, thanks for taking the time to join today.
Thank you, Will.
So, look, man, one of the things that I was kind of reading through the chapter we did for the book on you, and a couple of things I thought were really cool that I wanted to get you to talk about. But one of those was you said something in there I always thought was really neat. It made an impact on me. You said you don't hire bussers or ice cream scoopers or waiters or hostesses. You hire salespeople, and you hire salespeople for every position in your restaurants. Talk a little bit about why you do that.
Well, when my wife Rachel and I opened in 2003, the goal was to be the best burger in town, right? Keep it simple. You can't be everything to everybody, so be good at 1 or 2 things. And we chose the cheeseburger business because that's what everybody knows, that's what everybody loves. The competition's really intense, and that's fine, but when you create a business or a new product, what makes yours better and different than everyone else's, right? So instead of being like everybody else, we came up with these different value adds, we call them, that make our burgers better. So to answer your question, to jump, forward a few years from 2003, we were the best burger in town and still are. Of course, I'm biased, but I think our burger is fantastic compared to everyone else's around us. So what the business model turned into from being the best burger in town was more of a training ground. Because what we found, and like me, when I go out to eat, I expect the service to be good. I expect them to be clean, knowledgeable, and everything else. And through all my corporate days at Kellogg's, about brand identity and value add and salesmanship and, suggestive selling and all those things, there's no reason that can't be incorporated into the food service industry like what we do with our wait staff. So the mission that we've become over the past probably 10 years is to teach people to be salespeople. And it's not just about sales. It's just about personality. It's about being more confident in yourself and how to prepare yourself to be confident and how you would talk to a stranger, and whether it's eye contact or posture or cleanliness or menu knowledge or just knowledge of anything. But we intentionally hire a lot of young people to get in their head first, to teach about all those sales tactics, about brand identity, value add, return on investment, but also teamwork, proactiveness, attention to detail, and accountability. So what it's been over the past few years is to get these people to understand that everything is sales. So when they go to that college admission, right, interview, and they have to sit down with the admissions people, they need to sell themselves on why they should be attending that school, or they should be able to go up to their coach and ask them a question without being shy or nervous or scared because they've been in these situations before. Because I can tell you a lot of people don't get that, and the experiences that I had at the Kellogg Company and some other corporations, that's where I really, fine-tune those skills. I had a paper route at 9 years old, so I was knocking on people's doors asking them to pay for their paper that I delivered. So I got those skills pretty early, and just worked in the food service industry all my life. But, the fact of the matter is we hire salespeople to teach those things because we know it's going to pay off later for them. And even the mid-20 people, the who am I's of the world, or the experienced waiters, where you get, hey, I've never done this before because that's not how we've done it at other restaurants. Well, that's because we're different at where we are, because we enforce those policies and procedures to make sure they understand that they're accountable for return on investment. They need to maximize their profitability. So that's where this whole salesmanship type thing comes into play.
And so you have a lot of high school students and young folks working for your staff. So do you get into those kinds of terminology, return on investment and maximizing profitability at that age? You teach them about that early on.
Yeah, because they're going to learn it. They're going to learn it in school, so why not get an advantage? So if you're 14 and you're working for us and you're maybe bussing tables, but you're still a salesperson, because if you have customer interaction, you better be able to answer a question they ask you. What's the address? What's this about? What beers do you have? And that 14-year-old better look at them in the eye with a smile on their face and list off the most expensive beers first. You know what I mean? Because that's what the job is. Their number one job, Will, and this sounds let me explain this because it doesn't sound very good. Their number one job is to make me a ton of money. Okay?
Yeah.
But what's that mean? It's not literally that. It is, but it's not. What it means is they need to understand to not walk around like a robot and give mediocre service and say, what'd you say to a customer? Or, have no politeness, no manners. They understand that people judge the book by its cover. I mean, that's the reality of the world. It's a sad one, but it's reality. So until you open your mouth, they don't know what they're going to get sometimes. And when you have a young person working in the industry like this, it's very important to mold them early. They need it. They want it. Even though they may not admit it, they want it and need it. And so, if he's busting tables or doing dishes, he should strive to be a waiter because that's cash tips. So, they average anywhere from $18 to $22 an hour cash versus, busting tables at $7.25 an hour. I mean, which one would you rather be, right? You want that cash money. Cash is king. We talk about all these things. Then we talk about budgeting and how to save your money and all these things. So it's not just turning a 14-year-old wild with a bunch of cash once he earns it, or she. It's about what you do with it. And that's how I look at my role. I'm blessed in the fact that this business has taken off really well. It's 13 years this coming May in 2015. The other shops are doing great. Everything's going great. It's my duty to give back, to let these kids know what works, because I've been through high school, college, corporate world, small corporations, large ones. I have an idea what they're looking for. And if I can give back to these young kids, prepare them later, then that's my obligation. And it's not just about the money. It's about people development skills, and we really stress that at Bubs because it's so important. And I have fact-based data at this point after so many years that these kids come back and say, God, Matt, you're the biggest jerk to work for. But you were right. And I've used those skills I learned at Bubs about brand and value and sales and, just personality and communication and networking to help me where I'm at now, and they have a full-time career job. So it's not that I just make this stuff up. There's actual facts that prove this through the people that have worked for me for 5 or 10 years or even just a couple years.
That's awesome. So you really view yourself as very much a mentor. You own a restaurant business, but you have a large staff at that business, and you look at yourself as a mentor to help them learn, not just how to. I mean, the byproduct of them learning this is making you a lot of money, but that's the byproduct. What you're doing is you're teaching them life skills, you're teaching them career skills, and you're teaching them things that are translatable to any aspect of life, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said before, it's not like they're never going to have to make a speech in a speech class in high school or college, right? So the sooner they're in front of their peers selling a menu item in our monthly sales meetings that we have that everyone has to attend, we intentionally, not I was going to say forcefully, but it doesn't sound right. We intentionally have somebody stand up and introduce themselves. Why are they working at Bubs? Just so everyone knows them, and then drill them on questions about the menu. And a lot of times it doesn't go so well because these kids panic, right? But it's better they do it now with us than in the classroom, than in the boardroom, than in the office or in the coach's office or something like that. They need to get that thick skin early. And I'm telling you, with the way the workforce development is right now, man, there's so much sense of entitlement and, just I deserve this, pay me this and I'll show you how hard I work. And that's just not the way it is or should be. You're judged and based on your performance. You're judged and measured based on your performance. It's not just, you're not given anything. You got to earn it.
Yeah, which is a great mentality. You probably have, I would guess you've got a lot of parents that want their kids to work for you. I would think. I mean, I know I would if I were there, right? So you have this reputation, you say, with the kids that you're hard to work for, whatever, then they come back later and say, you were right. But I would think the parents, for the most part, good parents understand that. They're probably lining up to have their kids work for you.
Yeah, some are. Some are. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But, sometimes it just takes somebody else. The parents could be telling these kids, their own kids, the same thing that I am. But it just
right.
Times. And when they perform in front of their peers, that's when they really see the results. And instead of just at home, hey, go clean your room. This is how you clean your room. This is why you should clean your room. You should clean your room. Whatever. You know what I mean? But there's been parents that come back to me and say, I don't know what you did to my kid, but man, his room's clean. He's helping out with dishes without being told. So they just start to realize, and I think that's just the brain of a freaking teenager anyways. You know what I mean? That brain's still developing in a teenager. They just don't understand the common sense of, I should probably get up and help. Until they're in a work environment that their boss is breathing down their neck saying, come on, let's go do this. Follow this checkoff list. This is how you do it. it's part of the developmental phase, and I think it's just crucial that more people start to think that way as they manage these young people and mid-20s, right, and even the olders, that it's okay to change. It's okay to do it this way.
That's awesome. Now, you something else I remember you telling me was, so you went and you were getting a loan for the business, and you got turned down a few times, and you eventually got like a 5-year loan. I think you paid it back in like 2 years or something like that. But one thing you told me was is that when you have the mindset that failure is not an option, it's really amazing how you'll react to that, how you can do so many things when you think that way. Talk a little bit about that and that kind of mindset and mentality and why you think that's important.
Well, just being a sales guy, I mean, no means yes. So you never take no as the answer. There's a way you can talk about it. There's a way you can convince. In our situation with that loan that you brought up, the same bank said no 2 times, and I, got one more meeting with him. I scooted my chair close to him and said, I'm not in that group of failure. I'm not. And here's our business plan. This is why you should do it. And, yeah, you're right. It was a 5-year loan. We paid it off in just 2 years. And I said, don't tell me no. And anyone, whatever election at IU University, or up at Purdue or even some of the local high schools, if you're satisfied with somebody telling you can't do it, you got to change that attitude real quick, right? Somebody tells you, hey, Will, you can't create a company called Schedulefly. Come on, man. No one's going to use it. Really? Watch me. That's the attitude you should have. Really? Tell me I can't do it more, because that's just going to motivate me to prove you wrong. But, Will, you've seen it. There's so many people saying, you're probably right. I probably won't play A-team. I probably won't start, or probably won't start that business. Probably won't go well. I'll just be miserable doing what I'm doing and just keep doing it until I can retire. There's a lot of people out there like that. And
yeah,
to me, that really confuses me, because I don't understand how anyone could go through life getting up every day doing something they don't like to do. I just don't get it. Life's short, and you got to take advantage of those opportunities. And you know what? At least you tried. If it fails, there's a lot of failure out there, and that's fine. That's how you learn. But at least you tried. And maybe it costs you some money, but if you budget and you save and you do things right, you should be okay still. But yeah, it's a big risk, but people got to understand that you got to take the chance, and that's what we teach these kids too. Some are shy to be a waiter. I don't want to wait tables; it's too much pressure. Nope, you're going to wait tables. Come on, let's go. Then they end up being one of the best waiters we have. They just need to push.
But so when you have that mentality going into it, then, but you still are, so you're getting in at the time to what was then and still is a really risky business, and you're selling cheeseburgers. So what did you do? Like, what were the things you said? Okay, this is of course you were confident, but and you finally convinced the bank. But what are some of the things you did early on that you deliberately said, okay, these are some of the things I have to do and get right to make sure that we make this business successful? I know one of those things was you have something called the Big Ugly Burger, which is sort of your catch menu item. I mean, how important was that, and how important were some of the other things that you did to help foster your success?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. There were nights that I was like, oh, my gosh, what did we do? Did we do that? Are we doing the right thing? Oh, my gosh, is this going to work? But, you open up and your fingers are crossed and you're working hard and you hope it's right. And we made a bunch of mistakes when we first opened, man, from a logistics procedure standpoint and everything else. And, there's so many things that went wrong and could have gone worse but didn't. And, you pray every night and it turns out being okay. But, and you just work hard, that's what it takes. But it takes time to create that blueprint, that process and procedure, and I think that's one of the best things that we did is come to the realization, this is years ago, and it's ever changing because you modify it all the time based on environments or whatever, someone may have a suggestion from the staff that works. And so we changed the whole process for that. You got to be smart. If you read that book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, it's about working on the business, not in it, and creating a blueprint and a structure for the business so anyone can do it and follow it. It's so true, because if you're
what is the name of that book?
It's called The E-Myth, The Entrepreneurial Mythology About Why Small Businesses Fail by Michael Gerber.
Okay.
Great book.
You recommend it, huh?
Yeah, easy reading. It's a good book. He talks about Ray Kroc and how he got into McDonald's, selling shake machines to the guys, and then ended up something doing what he did with McDonald's. But it's mostly about the process. You know, you have to have a process. And anyone who opens a restaurant, man, you better plan on being there 15 hours a day, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week to get that process started. And it's not just 1 week's worth of time either. You know, I was at Bub's for a solid year and a half with those hours. Damn near killed me, but I knew that I had to do it. And I'm so cheap that I didn't want to spend the money on someone else doing it. So, you know, you just got to put in forth that effort and that time frame and just figure out what works. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, and it also brings up something else, because you say, I'm so cheap, but the other way to put that would be that you are, you know, are conservative and fiscally, and that you're smart with the way that you run your business, and you have your hands or your arms around the business side of your business. Talk about that a little bit and how important that is and how people may miss with that sometimes, because that seems to me like a really key part, is understand your financials and your profitability and running, you know, what you might call a lean business, but what a lot would call, you know, a really smart way to run a business.
Yeah, well, you know, like any business, not just food service at all, but any business, if you don't buy right, you're already, you know, you're underground at that point. So you got to know how to buy right, and that's the advantage that I had in corporate sales for food service with Kellogg's and a couple other food service manufacturing companies. I knew, you know, I did so many trade shows across the country, I was about to die. But I also saw which vendors to deal with. I knew which representatives of those businesses were real and not just selling you a bag of something. I knew how pricing structure worked with, you know, distributors across the nation, so on and so forth. I mean, I had the advantage going into this that I had a lot of experience with vendors, with products, with pricing, with distribution, and so on and so forth, where most restaurant owners, they go into this cold and fresh and have no idea. So I knew how I could beat up those distributors in terms of getting the best price and having them get the products that I needed for my business, you know, even if it wasn't in stock. You know, not a lot of distributors want to bring products in and have another SKU take up space when it's, you know, smaller volume. But, you know, again, they had faith in me and what we were doing, and it turned out to be a great choice. But, you know, knowing the financials and everything else, you know, we went through a process, my wife and I did, about a year and a half ago. You know, like I said, we've been very blessed with our business being very, very successful the first, you know, 10 years. We were approached by some people to franchise and do some things, and, you know, and that really they had some questions for us that we had answers for, but we wanted more detail on. And it really made us dig into our business and turn everything inside out with every single piece of thing that we bought for that business. And it's helped us be more responsible and just open our eyes to the efficiencies and pricing. And
what's an example? Like, what's an example of something that you uncovered through that process?
Well, you know, like food costs. You know, with every single item, you got to go through that and find out what it costs. And you need to do that frequently to monitor, you know, your food cost percentage. You know, you want to say it maybe 30%. That's kind of the average for the industry, right? We had a couple items that were a little bit high. We had to adjust some pricing. But again, our thought process and all those years prior is like, hey, everything is so great. If it's not broken, why fix it? But from a reality standpoint, if you want a franchise or if you want to expand that business, you got to be competitive in the market, but you also have to be profitable. You can't have menu items on the menu that are dead dogs, right, that are in that 45, 48% food cost margin. I mean, it's okay if you have a loss leader, but that item is not making a lot of money or as much money as it could, you know, at 30%. So, but then if you raise the price, is that going to take it out of the market reality of somebody willing to pay that much for something? So then you got to replace that item and put in something new. So, and that's the beauty of our menu. It's so small and simple that we didn't have a lot of items like that at all. In fact, none. But there were some side items like fries, you know, that needed reorganized a little bit and just small things. But it was just a great experience for us to go dig deep into our own business. And it made me a more mature business owner, more knowledgeable, and just all around well-rounded about the business instead of doing what I did for so many years.
You know, you strike me as somebody who's never going to be, I say not satisfied, but certainly not complacent with the business. Like, I feel like a lot of people, 10 or 12 years in, the business is doing well, could easily get complacent. But you seem like you'll never fall into that trap, which can be dangerous for the longevity of the business. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I don't think anyone can be, because, food costs right now is an all-time high. With beef and some produce and all dairy items, basically. If you're not on top of that and knowing what's happening inside your business, you're going to be out of business pretty quick. So yeah, you got to keep an eye, and the business changes. New trends, new styles, new equipment, all come out, and that's from my old sales days. I mean, we were launching new products all the time. You have to be aware of what's out there, because that's how elk ended up on our menu. So
what ended up on your menu?
Elk meat.
Oh, elk. Yeah, right. I remember that. Okay, yeah.
So, the story is the farmer came in, hey, I want to buy some elk. And I'm like, no, beat it. Our menu is the menu. Because once you create a concept, right, once you start deviating off your original thought process, you're going to be in trouble. And again, you can't be everything to everybody. So our thought was at the time, hey, we're doing great. Everything's fine. We don't need to add elk meat. Give me a break. But then there's a restaurant that offered bison that opened up the road about 2 miles, and people were talking about how good it is for them and all this. So I said, well, shoot, maybe I need an alternative. Brought it in. Of course, it doesn't matter what I think. It only matters what customers think. So I got some samples of it and cooked it and, did it just like our burgers, and people loved it. So I said, all right, here we go. So we had it on the menu, and it's been a good seller, very good. It's not a cheap meat, that's for sure, but people understand that. It's a premium. And there's a good profit margin on it for us. So it ended up being a great thing. And that's something, too, Will. I mean, Rachel and I created this concept. The thought was to be good at one or two things, like I said. It's cheeseburgers, how is ours better and different than everyone else. But then it doesn't matter what we think a lot of times. You know what I mean? I mean, if you created Schedule Fly just the way you wanted to work, that doesn't mean it's good for everybody. So yeah, it's important to get a lot of consensus with what people like, what they don't, all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't matter if I like elk or not. It matters what customers think. Obviously, if you want to sell a product, you got to get some feedback on it before you bring it all in and spend the money to bring it in and offer it. So, yeah, but complacency, there's no room for that anywhere, in my opinion.
But you also have to do it carefully while sticking to your, so it's tied into your original concept, which is burgers. But one of the things that you guys have done, and I think is really smart, and I love your comments on it, is you just mentioned a minute ago, you talked about it when we did the book, is your menu is small and your menu is simple, and you do one or two things really, really well. It seems like a lot of restaurants, they're all over the place, where it's very clear what you do at Bob's, and when the customer's in the mood for the type of food you serve, then you're the best place to go. And if they're in the mood for tacos or whatever, they go elsewhere. But you've really focused on being the best in your niche, and I think that's been a big part of what you all have done really well.
Thanks. Yeah, I think so too, because when you come to Bub's, you know what you're going to get, right? It's clean, it's safe, it's good, it's consistent, and it's easy. You don't go in and you flip through page after page after page of menu from tacos to seafood to steaks to chicken to what are they good at? And that's what you get when you come to Bub's. You know what we're good at. Come to us when you want, but you know what you're going to get. And a lot of people like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you add something like elk, it still goes back to the simplicity, and it fits into your core offering. It's not like you just went, okay, well now we have. Yeah, exactly. So that's hard. I mean, it's hard to stay. Because it's the same thing would be with our business. It's keeping things really simple and executing on a great product and great service day after day after day. May seem easy, but it's a little harder sometimes than just let's try this or let's try that or why don't we start, let's add this to our offering and let's add this. And next thing you know, you have a complicated product and you can't really do a great job of serving everybody because you've got too many things that you offer. And then so the simplicity can be challenging because you also want to always, you're a thoughtful guy and you're, I don't know, it just seems like adding things is sort of the natural way a lot of times, but I think a lot of businesses get in trouble doing that, whether it's in the restaurant business or software or whatever else. Simplicity is a very tough thing to pull off sometimes to keep it consistent for, a long period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned another thing you mentioned I thought was really important is, you were talking about growing and you mentioned something. You said a lot of restaurants fail from greed and ego. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, it happens. A lot of, and here I am saying their number one job is to make me a ton of money. So it kind of contradicts it, but the meaning of that. A lot of it is, people grow rapidly because, hey, I did so well at this one, I'm going to make the next one 10 times bigger and open another one after that within a month. They get out of the reality of what they're in my opinion, because they focus on, God, I'm making so much money with this one, I'm going to do it again. And look, I could have a lot more bubs up, but within this business, it's so delicate because the customer relationship is so important. And because we focus on that sales thing, we're very, very, I guess I'll say it just bluntly, picky about who we hire. Mm. And man, I'm telling you, 3 biggest challenges: labor. You got to find the right people to do what you want and that represent you, especially if you are growing and you're not going to be there as much. You have to have the right people in place. And we've grown, it may seem fast to some, but trust me, it's been slow to us, not because I'm dying to grow, but just because the people haven't been there. So I could have a lot more of these up. It's just I don't have the right people. Now, we are working on a bunch of things right now because I have people that have committed to us. They've bought into the process and the procedure and the thought process of what we do and how we do it, and they believe in it. So they're willing to commit full time to a leadership role, and they've proven themselves over the years, and so on and so forth. So everything has a time it takes to make it right, and I just think everyone has a different time level. But mine is not about, hey, look at me and look how rich I am and what I have. It's about doing something right and giving back. Honestly, I mean, I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers, and I make mistakes, but that's how you learn, and you learn from all those, and you kind of pass on that knowledge to different people.
Yeah, sure. Is it hard to is it hard to keep really good people if you're only growing at a certain pace? Are there people that want to grow further within the organization and have nowhere to go, or is that what helps foster growth as you find people that have really excelled? And I guess that's what you're saying. You get enough people that have kind of bought in that eventually you say, okay, now we're able to take the next step. Yeah.
Sometimes I've lost a couple of people because it wasn't as fast as they wanted, and to me that's okay. And I still stay in touch with them and all that, but to me that's okay because I'm not going to rush the process or not buy right or not buy the right piece of land to put a buzz on just to satisfy their time frame. And it takes time for someone to show me that they got what it takes and they can be trusted and they're a leader and they believe in what and how we do and why we say what we say and everything else. So, yeah, it's really tempting. But, sometimes, here's an analogy. So sometimes, a man and a wife may have more kids to save their marriage, right? Hey, we're having problems. Let's have more kids, or let's have a kid to save our marriage. A lot of people open restaurants doing that. They may have one restaurant or two or whatever, but then they start opening more to save the other ones. And that's where kind of the business gets tricky and sad, to be honest with you, because the failure rate of the restaurant business is so high. Last I checked, and you probably know better than I do, but I saw a fact about 86% of restaurants fail the first year they're open. Then within the next 5 years, that percentage is even higher of those that succeeded. So, you got to be patient, you got to be calm, you got to be smart, and all that kind of stuff. But, with me, I think what's helped us is because the salesperson tactic has worked out so well, it's helped me be more creative inside the business, and provide opportunities for people that they believe they're buying into a career and not just a job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's interesting. The 3 biggest challenges are labor, and labor. That's really, is that a sign of the times? Has it always been the case? Or?
Always the case, but even more so now, like I mentioned before, the sense of entitlement people have.
Yeah.
Over, people look at this as a job and not a career path. And that's unfortunate because it's a very fun career. It's never the same. It's different every day. And, I can tell you that corporate sales job that I had, it was like Groundhog Day, where every day was the same. It never changed, and it just got boring. You know, where this business, you're meeting somebody new every day. You're on your feet. You're making things happen. You're being a mentor. You're leading. You're implementing processes, procedures. You're accountable. You know, it's a great career path, in my opinion.
So you teach entrepreneurialism at the high school, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I don't teach. They ask me to come in and lecture to their classes.
I mean, it seems like for somebody that's an aspiring entrepreneur, this is a great opportunity because you have this sort of mentorship mentality, and so here's an opportunity where you can learn so many aspects of the business because it's a small business and it's a family-owned business. It's not going and busting tables at a large chain or whatever. So it seems like for somebody that has that mindset that even if they don't want to get in the restaurant business one day, this is a great opportunity for somebody that sees himself as potentially being a business owner one day and learning what it takes to hire salespeople, to lead people, to get people to buy into what you're doing, to get people to treat your baby, as if it's their own. I mean, isn't that the kind of opportunity you're really offering?
Yeah, big time. There's a great story. I had a young guy graduate from the Kelley Business School down at IU in Bloomington. It's a very good business school. And this was about 2.5 years ago. The economy still wasn't coming back real well. His resume was out there, didn't have much luck. Finally got an interview with a company that was hiring experienced salespeople. And here he is straight out of school. And, he luckily got the interview, but he called me completely paranoid and nervous about, Matt, I don't know what I'm going to do. They want experienced salespeople. I've never been in, I haven't sold anything. I go, Jeremy, are you kidding me? I go, buddy, what's your job title above? Salesperson. What's brand identity? What's value add? And I went into all those things. He's like, wow, I can't believe I didn't even put it all together. You know what I mean? And I felt really bad for him because he's a smart kid and he didn't realize it. Come on. But long story short, he ended up getting the job, and the guy who interviewed him, that guy's boss called me and said, hey, I don't know what you're doing with these kids, but I want to use this as a training ground and hire more people that work for you. Because Jeremy killed it, and what he explained that you do is right up our alley. So, and again, I hate it because it sounds like I'm blowing my own horn, but it just proves that people in my situation across the country have this opportunity to have an impact on people, and they need to look at it that way instead of just saying, hey, I own a restaurant, I need to make money, I need to sell this food and pay bills and go home. You have an opportunity to have a major impact on somebody's life that they're never going to forget. They won't. They're not going to forget these relationships or experiences they've had waiting tables. Everyone should do it, as you know. Everyone should wait tables. So you get some pretty thick skin. Not everyone's real nice. So you got to know how to handle those situations, know how to handle money, face your bills, be accountable, be clean. Just be in sales.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the labor force out there right now, what we're experiencing out here in the Midwest, there's a lot of great people, don't get me wrong. But, man, there's a lot of people that just think they're entitled to a job or something better than what's offered, or it's never enough money, or they're just never happy. Why don't you get your feet up, get in a job, perform, make some money, be proud of yourself, and develop your skills from there. So
there's really an opportunity to learn so many of those skills that would the accountability, the salesmanship, the simple things that you've talked about, looking people in the eye, leading with your most expensive beers when somebody asks. These are things that are these are such important lessons. So I see why Jeremy did well and why they would follow up with you about that. And these are great opportunities for anybody that has any kind of idea of doing their own thing one day, and whatever space it may be in. I think you're doing an amazing job, and I really like the mentality. I think you have captured something that I've talked to a lot of successful restaurant owners, and everybody has their different style, but there's very few that I think look at it that way, Matt. I think it's a phenomenal way that you kind of approach the business and approach your staff, and so but it just comes back to that's like, make me a lot of money. You say that, but the funny thing is, you're teaching them things that, again, it's like the byproduct is that they make you a lot of money because you're teaching them these skills that are so valuable they don't even recognize now. They will one day, but that's a smart way to go about it. It's a really it's just a really sharp way to approach the business, man. So I think it's awesome.
That very much, and it's in those sales meetings too that we actually talk about business and the economy, right? So, we talk about food costs and why the food costs are so high, right? With beef and the drought and harvesting and the exporting and all this kind of stuff that raises the cost of products. So they have to understand that when they, receive an order from a table, it's got to be right. It's got to be right when they put it in the system. It's got to be right when it comes out to the table. And you're aware of that process we have. It's multi-level. But they have to understand the cost of doing business. Mm. And to me, that's a great education for these young kids because they start to understand, wow, that costs that much. Like, what was it the other day? We were talking about, mayonnaise, ketchup, mustard packets. Some of our staff have a major habit of going in and putting like 20 ketchup packets in a bag for someone who ordered a small cheeseburger and a small fry. In reality, they'll use maybe 5 or 6 or maybe 8 of them. They're giving like 20, 30. So we broke it down and told them what each one costs and how that is, X amount of to-go orders a day, per week, per month, per year. The total was a staggering like $9,800. And they're all just like, holy cow, no way. So the more they understand about the business they're in, the more educated they're going to be, the more respectful they're going to be. Because you know what it's like. Hell, it's not mine. It doesn't matter if it breaks. It doesn't matter if I drop this and have to get another one. Once they understand that, you see a different performance level come out of them.
That's awesome. Well, so one more thing. So tell us about the Big Ugly Burger. Tell us what a Big Ugly Burger is and why you decided that to be, sort of your catch. And then you guys do an awesome job of, you've got pictures all over your walls of people eating. So just kind of give the breakdown on what that's all about.
Well, quickly, the Big Ugly Burger is a 1-pound burger after cooked. The bun itself is a half pound. That doesn't include the cheese and the roughage and, the lettuce, tomato, onion, pickle on top. It's cooked order, so, in that 1 pound after cooked is based on medium well. So if you get it rare, medium rare, it's going to be a little bit heavier. But our rule is whatever comes on that plate, you have to eat it. So if you don't like lettuce, don't get it, right? So, the waiter's going to try to upsell you on mushrooms or grilled jalapenos or whatever, or bacon. But if it's on that plate, you got to eat it. So if you eat it, it's a 4x6 picture that goes up on the wall. And, Bloomington and Zionsville are two other locations. They're bigger buildings, so they have more space. But in Carmel, we have to take the pictures down once a year because it fills up so fast. If you eat 2 of those, it's an 8x11 picture, 3 is a poster, and then 4 is life size. And the whole life size thing came about because Man vs. Food called us and said, hey, we send in people to your store. We love the product. We love the atmosphere. Adam wants to be the first to eat 4 Big Uglies. And so when they came out, unfortunately, Adam only did 2 1/4, but it was very comical how it all went down and everything else. So we had more time. I'd love to share it, but you already know the story. But so that's how people started eating 4 Big Uglies. That's 4 pounds of meat, 2 pounds of bread, not including what they get on top of it. And it's funny because Rich and I, once a year we get out our original business plan. We look at it and just kind of laugh and tell stories to each other and all this kind of stuff and just rehash all the good and the bad. But we never thought people would eat 4 of these. I mean, we never thought really many people would eat 1. So, at this point, we're over 90,000 Big Uglies sold. It's just insane. And you got, the great thing about it, it's very diverse. You got old people doing it, young kids doing it, grandmas bringing in their grandsons to do it, and there's barf, there's tears, there's happy, there's there's everything that goes along with it. It's very comical. So
they're awesome, and they are big. And you think that you sit there and you go, I see these pictures. I'm gonna knock out, try to get 2 or whatever. And I had 1, and I don't feel like I needed to eat for like a couple of days. But the good thing is that, but you mentioned this. I mean, your buns, like everything, it's just really good. It's not just this like big burger. It's like this really good big burger. But it's an experience. So it's part of your draw there is that you've got this cool, unique product that it's not just let's go to Bub's and they have good burgers. It's let's go to Bub's and hey, let's see if any of us can eat a Big Ugly Burger. Let's try it today and see who can do one. So it's this whole other level of experience, which is a really neat draw, I would imagine. It brings a lot of people in just for the sake of. I mean, what percentage of your orders are Big Ugly, if you don't mind sharing? Or
we sell on average about 190 a week. So
190 a week, okay.
We're turning 500 to 700 people out a day. On a moderate day, on a busy day, we're at 900 to 1,000, and yeah, it was up there way high when Adam came, and soon after that show aired, went from about 200 a week to almost 800 a week, and that stayed steady for about a year and a half, which was just insane.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's just nuts. I mean, we're so lucky. But you touched base on it, Will, and I think it's very important for the listeners to understand that you said the word experience a couple times, and that goes into the whole business plan, right? Bub's is a freestanding unit in its own location. It's not a strip mall. It's not right next to, whatever, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's such a big part of the business that there's so many options out there. But with us, like I said, there's 5 value adds about our burgers that make them better and different than everything else. It's fresh, never frozen, which isn't rocket science, right? A lot of people do that. It's cooked to order. Again, not rocket science. A lot of restaurants do that. It's hand pattied. It's after cooked weight, and then on a fresh baked bun. And then that 6th element is the service. So those are the value adds, but of the burger itself. But that burger is in a facility that is unique and creates an experience and an ambiance that's different than most other places. So we focus on kind of that atmosphere of casualness, and it's concrete floors, wood tables. It's kind of come as you are, and I think that's why a lot of people love it. Because it's not the same. It's not real nice. It's not real. You know what I mean by that.
Sure.
So
yeah. Absolutely.
When people are out there creating a business plan for a restaurant or in their business and they're trying to figure out what to change or whatever, you can't be everything to everybody. You got to create a product that's great. And you have to create an ambiance or an experience that people want to come back to. That's just crucial. And again, it's not rocket science, but so many people just say, yeah, I'm going to do this and put it right there without really thinking about what kind of impact that's going to have on the day-to-day operations.
Absolutely. Well, this is awesome, Matt, and always it's good to talk to you, and I really have a lot of respect for what you and Rachel have done, and it's a great business, and I hope anybody that is your way will certainly come try it out. The food's fantastic. The service is great. I mean, everything about it is a great experience. But thanks for doing this, and thanks for sharing. This is really valuable and helpful information to a lot of people. I think that will, learn from this and hopefully avoid some mistakes and get some good ideas for how to try to replicate some of the success that y'all have had.
Well, I appreciate it, Will. Congrats to you, too, with your business.
All right, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. Well, listen, good to talk, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon. But thanks again for the time. I know you're a busy guy.
That's all right. Thanks, Will.
All right, take care.